Hey, Sunny Jim here, and this is going to be a video on wheels and roll-in landings. There seems to be a lot of confusion out there. So let me tell you my experience with roll-in landings, both prone and in Suprone. I've probably done about 15 or 20. Most of those, of course, in the last year, since it's turned out to be great. I've never had the glider exhibit the tendency to nose over. I've never had the glider exhibit any tendency to whack. I've never had a whack or a nose over in a roll-in landing. And here's probably why, though. I've always flown with wheels like this, even in Chelan when I'm going cross country. They're big, you know. They're fairly efficient, and you know, we're not rolling. It doesn't have a bearing. You can buy these wheels from Northern Tool. You take out the bearings, actually. Pop in, you know, pop in right there. Pop those out. Then you take a 1 1/8 inch hole saw. Basically, it kind of comes like in this configuration. Take the 1 1/8 inch hole saw and drill out that half, and drill out this half, and then it will fit over our base tubes. And then I would take this area that's empty, and I filled it with hot glue, and to give it more rigidity, you know, more solidity in the hub, and works great, you know. So that's probably why I've never had a problem, is I've flown with adequate wheels. And by adequate wheels, I mean wheels of the proper diameter, efficiency, and strength to handle the weight of the aircraft, the roughness of the field we're going to land on, and the speed at which we're landing. And those wheels do a pretty good job. If I was coming in, I've landed on those big 12-inch wheels doing 30 to 35, never had a problem. And so this discussion is going to go one of two ways. I'm going to show you a few examples of wheels that we've been using, which we probably shouldn't use if we're going to do roll-in landings. Hall wheels, they're a great wheel. They're great for what they're good for, but they have a plastic bearing inside here that can bind up real easily in a side load. You're coming in. Matter of fact, these wheels have flat spots on them. There's one. There's two. Look at those flat spots right there. Yeah, so you know they bind up, and now you don't have wheels anymore. You have skids. You know, and that's probably okay if wheels are just going to be used as knuckle protectors, or like you blow your flare and whack, and it allows your glider to roll a little bit. It's a lot better than not having anything on the base tube, that's for sure. But in a side load, they lock up. So if you're going to be coming in consistently like I'm doing now and doing roll-in landings, no, it's probably not a good idea. And they're probably not enough diameter and efficiency to handle the fields that I'll be landing in, the speeds I'll be landing in. Same thing with these wheels. They have a plastic bearing in there, and it binds. It can bind up, and of course it's plastic on plastic. So if they're going to be used on a consistent basis, like all the time, not going to last. So Finsterwalder, I tore their wheel apart. This is the 6-inch Finsterwalder. I tore it apart because I wanted to see if there's a seam here, and there isn't. This is a very sturdy hub. Finsterwalder makes an 8-inch wheel, and yeah, I'd do roll-in landings on that wheel. It'd be very similar in size. Oh, I just turned on the hot tub. Okay. Dang it. Maybe I'll get in after this. But again, you got plastic that's going to be consistently rolling on an aluminum base tube. For consistent roll-in landing use, that's probably not a good thing. Just like this is not a good thing for prolonged use. It's going to wear and tear on our base tubes. I mean, you could, you know, take bearings. Actually, in these Finsterwalders, these bearings pop in really nicely. You could rig up something so you're on bearings, like put a little fork Now, how are we going to fasten that to our base tube? See, that's the question I've been thinking about over the last 4 months as my shoulder's been recovering from surgery. So let me draw for you the dynamics of what we're looking at on why the roll-in landing works. Okay, you got the glider, king post. We have an A-frame that is raked forward at about that angle. Okay, most of the gliders that are rigged for prone, that's we have a forward rake on our angle. Now, this is about the flying angle of attack. Let's give it some character, you know. That's our hang glider, okay? I'm hanging right here. My hang point's about right there. My hang loop, okay? So in normal flying, that's about where I am. Now, when I'm using only, watch this. When I'm using only the down tubes to pull in from, look at that. That's as far as I can pull. About even with my chest, okay? What makes this work is the swept forward A-frame and the limitations of the human body. Yeah, here's what causes whack. Okay, we're coming in, regular angle of attack, you know, here's the ground. You know, we're coming in, flying in. And then at the last minute we do a flare, what's called a flare, where we push out and we want to bring the glider to like a full stall right above ground level so we can settle to the ground. Rotation in the harness where you have to take your hands off your controls and reach up for the down tubes and miss the down tube and throw yourself out of control, you know, and or you've adjusted your harness improperly so you're hanging too low and you don't have enough flare authority. You get all touchy-feely and you still flare at the wrong moment, a little too late, or you don't flare out and up. Your glider stalls before it really comes to a complete stop. And the same thing that happens with us at 1,000 feet off the ground, a mild stall, the nose drops. That's all a whack is. It's just a low altitude stall. Okay, that's the way we do it. It's actually the flare, or the attempts at doing a flare, that are causing our nose to drop. We're we're kind of like our own worst enemy. Okay, so what if hang gliders, what if we just came in and landed on wheels? And think all those things a new pilot would not have to learn until they you know, get the basics under their belt. And then a full flare stand-up landing, in my opinion, should be a special skills write-off. I think it really should. It is a special skill. I know people that have flown for 20 years that still don't have that special skill. You look at a record of most of our injuries, and it's usually a broken neck, right? Yeah. We blow the flare or something happens. Even if we get turned on launch and crash into a tree, the glider comes to a sudden stop. The pilot continues to swing forward, and we hit our head either on the object or the glider itself. You know, oftentimes the nose of the glider comes down, we swing forwards. It's the weakest portion of our body, folks. Now what if we were swinging forward feet first in the Suprone position? Would our accident rates go down? Major injuries would go way down. Fatalities would go down. It's the difference between standing on a 5-foot deck, jumping off and landing on your feet, or jumping off and landing on your head on purpose. That's about it. Maybe a 4-foot deck. No, about a 5-foot deck. Would you rather land on your head or your feet? Which one? And that's what we're doing in the prone position. We've decided we'd rather land on our heads in a crash. So we focused on making our gliders beautiful. The hang gliders, it's man's oldest dream. Okay, and now we have these wings that are just amazing. Just amazing. and we put hardly any focus into landing gear. Hardly any. We've come up with these and these, and we're the only branch of aviation that thinks this way. Even sailplanes have what they call an adequate landing gear to roll in on at speed. I actually had a hang glider manufacturer email me and tell me that hang gliders should not be landed like regular aircraft. They should be landed on their feet. I'm just like, no. It wants to be landed like a regular aircraft, but we have not focused our energies on adequate landing gear that is efficient to handle the speeds at which we can land, the fields that we usually land in, and the weight of our aircraft. You wouldn't land a Cessna 152 on 4-inch plastic clip-on wheels, right? It's absurd just to think about it. It's crazy, but that's actually what we've been doing. And so I did a little mock-up. This is going to go down on the base tube. You know, it's a clamp that's just going to clamp down on the base tube. Drop it on, clamp it down, ready to go. Okay, so here, let me show you the setup I have using this. So this wheel worked fine, you know, but again, for continued use and side loads, I wanted a more efficient setup, and I figured as long as I balance the wheel so all the pressure on here is evenly spread out. So what I come up with, the base tube will be going through right through here. Get this beautiful wheel up front and a skid in back, but all the pressure is still going to remain directly on the base tube. Right? I got that right? Sure, it's like a teeter-totter. Okay, so the way this goes on is pop those off. You know, get out your jack. Jack up your tire. Pop it on. Drop it in. Zip, zip. Wheels are on. Now what I like about this is a lot of things. The air is going to soak up some, it's going to have some shock absorption value. This pivot block is just going to pivot back and forth a little bit. There's not going to be any wear and tear on the base tube. And then I decided, heck, just do this. Suprone FlyBar. And then look at that. See, it holds it. That's in the flying position. It's gonna be, whoa, we're gonna lose that ladder. Whew. And then now, but when you want to go set the tail of your glider down, it'll stretch and it'll set that tail down. That'll be about like that when I set the tail down. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and set the tail down so you can see how it's going to work when I set the tail down. All right. Coming down. Yeah, it's going to work fine. That's the idea. And then so I get in here, right, tail's coming up. Launch mode, it's like this. And in the air, it's like that. By the way, I showed you the wheel with the skid. I didn't stop there. I said, well, dude, if you're gonna do it, I do it upright. So, yeah, these are badass. So yeah, this wheel's gonna work great, or something like it. Now what I visualize, since this is plastic, UHMW, reprocessed, what if you just mold this entire thing out? You got fairings coming over the back wheel, you got fairings coming over the front wheel, where just the lower portion of the wheel's exposed, and this whole thing's plastic with maybe some reinforcement inside for stiffener. But you know, if you made this out of carbon fiber, yeah, it would probably be strong enough, super light, and completely streamlined. And then you just And then this could be like an over center latch where you don't even have knobs up here that can catch strings. I get that, you know, especially if this ends up usable for towing, you know, you wouldn't want anything here that can catch on strings and stuff. It'd probably be a smooth over center latch like they use on the front hubs of bicycles, you know, tighten it up, over center it, make it flush out. Or, you know, this same concept, we've never done this concept before. We've always tried to put wheels directly on. We've never like done the fore and aft thing. I whipped this out the other day. This is made out of the back end of a kayak. I just cut it up, it's polyethylene. What if this clamp right here, was mounted right here, got a bungee, it's the same gig. It's gonna come in, slide. What I like about the skid idea, beer, yeah. You could put ice in there before a cross-country flight, chill your beer. As you're flying, the ice is melting and draining out the back here. And so it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter. So later on in the day, when you need a lighter wing loading, you've got a lighter wing loading, but your beer is still nicely chilled when you land in the desert. And, you know, pop a Coke or pizza. You know, I kind of like that. And of course, this is really a crude mock-up. Will it work? Sure, it'll work. I rig it up, put this clamp on it with these bungees. There's no reason this isn't going to slide in just as smooth as this, except as long as it's a slippery type ground like wet grass, and I think even in the dust. You wouldn't want to come in on concrete with this, obviously in concrete or, you know, really rough conditions. The wheel's a better way to go. Or again, this original skid design where you have a wheel up front and a skid in the back. I don't see any reason that won't work either. Yes, there's no market right now for Suprone. I get that, okay? This is great. It's working fantastic. It is going to grow like this, okay? I really think it's going to help PG pilots who have wanted to cross over to hang gliding. Gives them the ability to cross over in a position they are used to. I sincerely believe it will increase the safety of our sport as we are swinging forward and breaking our ankles now instead of breaking our necks. And I think hang gliding can make a comeback. Our wings are fantastic. You manufacturers, you've done a fantastic job making some amazing wings. I'm critical of the wheels, but of course we've never even really considered. Now, when you teach someone to hang glide and you tell them all they have to do is land on wheels, here's what's going to happen. They don't have to learn how to do the rotate and take their hands off the base tube and reach up for the down tubes, which is where a lot of control is lost. And, you know, gliders get going kittywampus when they miss that. Sometimes guys rotate up and they miss the base, the down tube, right? Oh, it's all panicky. They don't have to get all light and touchy-feely and get that glider right next to the stall speed and flare at just the right moment. It would make learning to hang glide way easier. Because with wheels, all I'm doing, like I say, pull in. I mean, an idiot can do this. If you can drive a car, you can land a hang glider with wheels. Here's how you land it with wheels. Again, pull in, you come down to the ground. That gives you, with the down tubes only, that gives you the, like about 30. You're just coming in, you got good airspeed, punch through the wind gradient, get to the ground, let it out. Now you're paralleling the ground. When the wheels touch, you pull in again until it rolls to a stop and the tail falls. You're maintaining full roll authority all the way to the deck. You're maintaining good speed. Your glider is not coming close to a stall, which is where we get our whack situation. We try to get it all slow and touchy-feely, and we don't perform the flare properly, and the glider stalls, and the nose comes over, crash. Here's an example of that.
Oh yeah, I've done that. It hurts.
I think almost anybody that's flown hang gliders as long as I have has hit that hard at least once. And most of us have just been lucky. And like Mike Myers pointed out in an article we've all read, it's been republished many times, why can't we get a handle on this safety thing? Great article. And he makes a point in there that just because you've done it 100 times and got away with it doesn't mean it's safe. Okay? And now I'm realizing, now that I'm doing this, just because I've flown prone thousands and thousands of times over the last 45 years and got away with it, does not mean that's the safest way to fly hang butter. I'm thoroughly convinced this is by far, even though I'm running into some issues with harnesses, the setup itself, mwah, there's no problems.
So here we have a flight, and I'm going to demonstrate why I chose the Suprone position. I started off trying Supine, which is legs under the base tube, but I found when I pulled in with the handles, I could only pull in so far, and then when I tried to pull in farther, it was always a panicky grab for the down tubes. Watch this. See that? That's because I'm not using my feet. See? That's what I experienced in the supine position. And that's it. That was my top speed right there. Now I'm using my feet. Let myself, yeah, I have total control of my feet.
When we're flying above the bar, like this, okay, I'm in a Suprone position above the bar. I pull in for speed like that. Look at that. It's just like, oh, it's right now. And since I have a bar in front of me, the Fenison FlyBar, the forward portion is going to catch you. I can throw myself forward as fast as I want to, and wham! I'm on that front portion, and I'm pulled in instantly. I'm pulling in as fast as I can stuff the bar in prone. So think about it.
Like total pitch control. Now I'm going to show you how quickly I can pull in on the Suprone position. Feet forward over the bar. Yeah. Need I say more? When you need speed, you need speed. And so I flew Supine 3 times and realized, I just can't, you know, coming into a rowdy LZ, I need speed, I need it now. My feet over the bar, I've got speed when I need speed. And that's why I chose Suprone. And then everything else has fallen into place. The whole roll-in landing thing fell into place, and that, wow, this could really change the sport. This is a game changer. It really is. Now I'm only going to use the down tubes for the approach, as we discussed earlier. You see, I have plenty of speed using just the down tubes. I do 39 miles per hour. This is on a Will's Wing Super Sport. Okay. It's like driving a car in. It really is. As the ground approaches, I'll let it out a little bit, match the grade, and then I'll pull back in, which keeps the tail up until the glider loses speed, and the tail falls, just like that.
Safe.
It's really easy.
That's better. How's it looking?
It's looking mild and right up north.
It's looking like you're flying a walker.
Skywalker.
Definitely light.
Okay, come on, here comes a little breeze.
Yeah.
Let's see what it's got for me. Where?
There.
I've done some real preliminary strength testing to make sure this brakes right here where I want it to. Here's a clip of a, a backyard test. 1, 2, 3. Now look at this. I can do this. I can pick the glider up by the fly bar. Move it around. See, it's a jury strut from here to here. Your airframe's never been stronger. The flybar acts like a jury strut. It actually strengthens your A-frame, as I hope you can see, tremendously. And yet it will, I just proved it'll snap off. It did flare out the back of the tube. Let's see, you take out that pop rivet, pull the sleeve out, put a new one back in. That little flare is not going to interfere with anything. So this thing actually survived the test. I can still use this flybar. That is fantastic. And then the material I've used for the clamp has worked quite well. Flown with it for 1.5 years. No damage to the down tubes. And the wheels are, they're an experiment. I've had 3 landings on them so far. It's worked out great. But I visualize them as much more streamlined, much lighter. But my philosophy is start with adequate landing gear. Okay? And then streamline adequate landing gear. You know, as I can see, I need to make some adjustments. A little bit of adjustment on that one. And after we have adequate landing gear, then we can make them lighter, more streamlined, carbon fiber. Yeah. It broke down.
A little sideways. Got a little sideways.
I strapped on a flybar. Didn't think I'd get too far, but I flew it a lot and I liked how it flew, and now I'm sad, 'cause the flybar is just a fad. But it's a good way to go. It's way better than Pro. And if you flying by a flybar from me, I won't feel so alone. Gonna launch a Kickstarter to get it going. Come on, let's get it rolling, yeah. Gonna launch a Kickstarter to get it going. Come on, let's get it rolling, yeah. I strapped on a flybar. Didn't think I'd get this far, but it's a good idea, and ideas seem to make a path all of their own.